Hello, everyone. This is MFSN's Q&A for basketball. I'm excited to be here with you again. We had a very lively discussion last time. I look forward to your questions. So, if you're here already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and put your comments below. I'm ready for all of your questions. But what I'm going to start on, since I don't have questions yet, is I'm going to look at my league. So, what I'm generally doing, and this is what I do when I look at my league, I'm assessing my own team, first of all. So let's go there. Let's bring up my screen so you guys can see it. And okay, here's my team. Hot Rod Time Machine. I'm a LeBron fan because I'm from Cleveland, so that's why you see that there. I was a big Obama fan, but I'm not going to get political here. I accept all people except for people who don't like LeBron. That's not allowed. I suppose it's allowed. And in fact, we could get into a discussion of the greatest of all time if we go. But here's my team. So I talk about this a lot on our show. I like to have a big three. Oh, hey, Sam. Thank you for joining us. It's our MVP, Sam Jacobowitz. This guy asks the greatest questions. He watches basketball all the time. I look forward to your questions. So, Sam, I'm going to talk about my team, but you interject with questions at any point. My big three are James Harden, LeBron James, of course, and I think of Chris Paul as my third. And that's not atypical. So we have an auction league or a salary cap league. What that means is you have $200 to decide on what players you're going to draft. I love this sort of thing because you're not stuck in a position in the snake draft where let's say you get the 8th pick. Well, there you're probably not going to get LeBron. You actually could potentially, but I do want to make this clear. I didn't pick LeBron just because I'm a homer, even though he's now a Laker and I'm from Cleveland. I actually picked LeBron because his value was right in the draft. Sam Jacobowitz is pointing out that Chris Paul has been playing well of late. Is that ever true? Let's click on his stats and take a look at that. The last 2 games have been completely insane. So here we are. We're going to go to game log. And that, let me see. That does look like it might be a little bit blurry. So I'll stretch it for you guys if we need to. Come on, computer. Let's go to game log. Okay. Let's look at these stats. They're like pinball stats. Okay. I'm going to stretch it just a little bit so that you can see better. There we go. Okay. So January 30th against Dallas, he scored 29 points. He had 12 assists, and he had 3 rebounds to go with that, with 4 steals, and he had a 3-pointer. You can't get much better than that. But then the next night he did. He had 34 points, 9 assists, 9 rebounds, and 4 3-pointers. And, Chris Paul, I want to show you guys why I picked him. All right. So when I was assessing who to pick, here's something that I go to often. If you go to player settings, this is Yahoo, by the way. Different, people play on different platforms. But if you search Chris Paul, actually, so I'm going to do this a different way. We're going to go to all players. All players means that you're not just looking at the players that are available in your pool. You're looking at all players in the league. So let's look at what they did last year. This is a good discussion topic to talk about why we pick what we pick. If you look at the players from last year, take a look at this. Let's scroll up just a little bit. Chris Paul ranked 7th overall. Here it is, right here. Everybody see that? Chris Paul ranked 7th. Now, he's an older guy. So Sam's pointing out that he just got Kawhi. So we'll check on Kawhi's stats in a second, Sam, because I want to look at what you just got. Kawhi is obviously a fantastic player. And I like him more than most. Oh, I see why you're pointing him out, because Kawhi was ranked 6th last year. Now, let's remember, I'm looking at overall numbers. So I'm not looking at an average. Kawhi Leonard, his average stats are going to be even better. Well, I don't know if you can get much better than 6. You can. There's 5 numbers that are lower than 6, and they're better. I understand math. But Kawhi Leonard is great on average, but here you see all those times people would complain about Kawhi Leonard sitting games and how he doesn't have enough value. Well, he ranked 6th overall, even with sitting. This is how good this guy is. Chris Paul, he doesn't sit a lot, but he is undervalued because he's old. We've got ageist fans going on here. They think an old guy can't do it, but the fact is Chris Paul is a great value. So I'm sitting in the auction draft, and he comes up, and I've already got Harden, and I've already got LeBron. I happened to get those two. I didn't aim for those two. I aimed for 2 great players to have. Some players were getting bid too much. Kawhi Leonard hadn't come up when I was bidding on these players. I bid $82 out of my 200 on Harden, and I got him. And Harden, by the way, was the number 1 player in the game. Let's look at the averages. Ross the Boss says he's watching the Clippers now, and Kawhi Leonard is the best. Hard to argue there. Let's look at average numbers so we can keep talking about these players' values. And right now we're talking about these very high-end players. We're going to get into lower-end players, I'm sure, as people start to ask questions about them. But on average, you see Harden was still number 1. And let's see, Chris Paul is going to be lower. He played a lot of games, and he did really well. Kawhi Leonard, this is interesting. Wow, look at this. Kawhi Leonard was 13th overall in his average stats, and he was 6th overall in his total stats. So what that actually tells you is that everybody talks, he's such a fantasy darling for being so efficient in his average stats. But the fact is Kawhi Leonard is putting up big numbers, and I'm not sure why his average stats were as low as they were. Let's see where Chris Paul's average stats are. They're not even on the first page. I'm going to have to go to the next page. This is really interesting. This is going to tell us some things about these players' values. Now, I noticed Ross the Boss just said, you have the best team. I don't know if he is referring to me or Sam. Ross, I do see your question. I'm going to get to it soon. I want to see Chris Paul. Look, he ranked 33rd in average stats. What does it tell you when a player is much lower in their average stats than in their total stats? What it tells you is they played a lot of games. They were consistent because in their average stats, they didn't do that great. But if you play enough games, your total stats pile up and you can get up to 7 overall with 33 as an average. Now, Ross the Boss is asking, is Karl Anthony Towns ever going to play again? Well, let's get an update on him. And I love doing this sort of thing because this is really what I'm doing. I mean, when I'm just doing it on my own, I'm obviously basically asking my own questions. Ross just said, okay, you win. What do you want for Chris Paul? This is one of Ross's bargaining techniques. He comes to you originally with something, and then he gives in. Okay, let's see the update on Karl Anthony Towns. That is not where I need to see it. Let's see. So he's got COVID. He remains on the side. I knew he had COVID, but let's see how long he's been out. He's been out for over 2 weeks. See, one of the reasons that I lose track of these things is that Karl Anthony Towns is owned by another player. If you don't have him on your team, you could really lose track of how these players are doing. But I really encourage you all, pay attention to what is happening on other teams, because you might find that players are being undervalued. Now, I just want to say, if you have not already, click subscribe, hit like, ring the bell for notifications, and I hope you will all enjoy this ad from our sponsor, KillCliff.
As a reward for making KillCliff the undisputed clean energy drink of America and beyond, we've packed in more B vitamins, electrolytes, and killer taste than ever. And as a bonus, we've made the ultimate loyalty program. It's not a cult, it's not a club, it's the KillCliff Cult Club. Tap into special offers like flash sales and exclusive merch, deep discounts, and eternal awesomeness. Go to killcliff.com to get your discounts on.
I don't know who does the KillCliff ads, but I want to hire them to market me to people, because I watch that and I'm just like, that's some good stuff. And I just happen to be drinking this KillCliff. That was just totally random. I don't know what happened. Now, Sam Jacobowitz is telling us. He says, if I'm not messaging, right now. It's because I'm a Nets fan watching the Nets versus the Clippers. It's 102-102. Ross the Boss has updated me. We got a great game going. I can't watch it, though, because I have this Q&A to do, so I'll be here. But you guys can tell me what's happening. Clippers tied with the Nets, man. Let's see. Oh, Casey Scheinwald does our ads, Ross? All right. Well, that's good to know. Now, Casey Scheinwald, as we were talking about Karl Anthony Towns, let's get back to that. He shouted out, Naz Reid. And that's actually, he said Naz Red Eye, which was just a typo, we know. But I'm just busting your balls, Casey. Naz Reid has been performing very, very well with Karl Anthony Towns out. But I don't see why he would be out that much. So let's read this update. He's been out for over 2 weeks, which is a longer absence than the norm. But he is going through some tough times personally. How do they know? What do they know that I don't know? Let's see. He probably still needs work. He'll need conditioning work. Yes, thank you for pulling that up. That's good. We can see what's going on. Going through some tough times personally. I don't actually remember what that was. Ross, tell me what that was. All right, Sam is saying he hopes Kawhi plays tomorrow. I need him too. Let's see if he's been playing in back-to-backs. Because what did I just do? I closed the screen. Come on. That's not what I wanted to do. All right, we'll go back to it. Let's see. We are going to go to see whether Kawhi Leonard has been... that's what happened? Okay, so Karl Anthony Towns just lost his mom, so our condolences go out to him. And I apologize for not knowing about these things, but like I said, if you don't own Karl Anthony Towns and you're in a league, and a drunk driver hit him? Jesus. I'm sorry, Karl Anthony Towns. Some good karma is coming your way. If you are in fantasy basketball, go get Karl Anthony Towns. He's going to be a beast. He's one of the best players to play. And he lost 3 members of his family to COVID. Ross the Boss is he's usually very, very helpful with the news. Sam is telling us this season Kawhi has been playing in back-to-backs, and he hopes he continues the trend. So I don't even need to check because I trust you, Sam. You're good people. I don't even need to look. So, all right, guys, let's get back to looking at player averages. I appreciate that, Ross. Ross is saying that Karl Anthony Towns could benefit from hiring me, not as a fantasy expert, but I'm also a therapist. Trading for him now, very good idea. He will be back soon, I'm sure. Listen, when people are mourning, I know sometimes it's hard for people, but a lot of times for athletes, they will dive into the game. You know, I think about Michael Jordan when he lost his father. He needed to step away from the game for a while. So it does happen. But it's not like he went and did nothing. He went and played baseball. You know, sports guys, they take their morning and they go straight in. I think Karl Anthony Towns will be back soon, and I think he'll be better than ever. So Kyrie Irving has 37 points now. Well, listen, but points are never the problem. And in fantasy basketball, you want teams that are doing great on offense, generally speaking. But in real life, the Nets need to get some defense. We'll talk about that another time. Let's talk about who is available on the wire while people are watching this fantastic game. 110-102 Nets. Woo! The Nets had been down 9. The Clippers are getting a letdown. I'm going to ask a question of you guys because you guys are both watching this game. What do you think of Ty Lue as the coach of the Clippers, and how does that affect their fantasy values? And if you can't answer it, I will. But for now, what we're going to go to is I think I'm going to take a look at players that are undervalued. It's one of my favorite things to do. So we're going to go to all players. And please put in your comments if you have other topics. I wanna hear. So we're going to all players, and I'm going to go to percent rostered because this is going to tell us who's being undervalued. Now, of course, on the first page, it's not really going to tell us anything. LeBron James is owned on 100% of leagues. That's not so interesting. Ty Lue's doing great with the Clippers. That's good to hear. I'm a big fan of his. He won us a championship in Cleveland. And I love the guy for that. Okay, so now we get to 86%. And you see, in my league, all these players are owned, of course. You're not going to find many players that are not owned when you're only at 86%. But let's see. Is there anybody on this page? Nope. Still, we get all the way down to 77%, and everybody's still owned. Even guys like Kevin Love, you see at the bottom here. And Kevin Love has underperformed. So, look, this guy I could see being on the wire potentially. He just hasn't done that well. Here's a guy that I've taken a lot of flack from. Not from him. I don't know Jordan Clarkson personally, but I've taken a lot of flack because I think he's going to regress. He's on Ross's team, though, so I don't want to insult him except for in a veiled way, but I'm doing it on a live stream, so that's probably a bad idea. Oh, well. Let's see. Who else do we got here? Look at this. Okay, James Wiseman. Okay, now he's ranked 214 on the season. He's owned 78%. He's injured too. Okay, this is an important distinction. If you see that a guy is heavily owned, but his numbers aren't that good, don't just cut him. Make sure that you see, is he injured? And if you have injured slots, keep him. And a guy like Wiseman, I believe he's been playing well of late. So I'll check that soon. Ross the Boss has another question. Do you think I should trade Luka for Lillard? Great question. I'm going to get back to this where we were at 77% owned. We'll get back to that if we have time. Sam Jacobowitz has weighed in. But Sam, I'm going to wait to give your answer until I give mine. Or should I? No, I'm just going to say it right away. You say no. Now, look, Luka is a player that many people picked to be MVP. Some people felt that he should go number one in the league. He started off not so great. And our friend Casey Scheinbold has a team called Nurk Alert. Guess why? Because he had Nurkic on his team, and he's hurting because of it. He is currently slated to miss the playoffs, but we'll see if he can get back into it. So Doncic is ranked 26th on average. Let's see what he's done total, because he was 13 total. Okay, I'm in total agreement with Sam. No, I love Lillard, but Doncic has the upside to be the number one player. Lillard does not, and I'll show you why. Lillard. No, it searched for Millard. Millard has no chance of being the number one player, even compared to Damian Lillard. Stop it. Don't recommend Millard to me. I know what you're trying to do. Okay, Damian Lillard is ranked 9th in season average. Season total, he's ranked 5th. So actually, we're kind of splitting hairs a little bit. But I'm going to show you what he did last year, because he's remarkably consistent. Lillard is usually ranked like 5 to 10. And he's great. And he's also going up and up and up. Let's actually see how he's been doing in the last 14 days total. Number 17 in the last, that's 7 days average. We're going to do 7 days total. See, this is how you can evaluate a player. You can see, well, how are they playing this week? How did they play the last 2 weeks? I don't often care how they played the last month. That's a little too telescoped out to tell. But when you're ranked 2 overall, that's saying something. So let's go back to Doncic and see how he's done lately, because both of these players weren't doing as well at first, and then they really caught fire. So we just checked last 30 days. Let's see what Doncic is. Number 6. Listen, guys, we're splitting hairs. You can trade Luka for Lillard, especially if you need that point guard. So look at your stats. See, do you need a guy who is going to shoot maybe more threes or get more assists? But you see Doncic, his numbers just across the board are just delicious. This is the kind of player that, as a fantasy player, you just salivate over. Salivating over men. It's what fantasy sports players do. Bless you, Courtney. I saw that. All right. Ross says we haven't heard from the Ninja tonight. Is she okay? The Ninja he's referring to is Lauren Auerbach, who is has been a member of the MFSN team. We wish her well. She's actually stepping away for some time, but hopefully she will be coming back to us at various points, especially during baseball, because that's the time where she really likes it. I don't know where Party Marty is tonight. We'll have to see. So we're really splitting hairs with Doncic and Lillard. I think you want to go for the player that fits best with your team setup. It's totally fine. Look, Lillard is actually probably even the safer of the two, but I would go for the upside of Doncic. Okay, I'm going to get back to what I was looking at before. And that is all players and percentage rostered. We have the waiver wire show coming up, by the way, on Thursdays, same time as this. Yes, Sam is back. We're going to get some incisive questions. No, you don't have to be sorry, Sam. We just appreciate you being here. You are the man. So we're going to keep looking at, oh, wait, I'm not sorting by percent rostered. By the way, I am glad they changed it to percent rostered. We used to say percent owned, and that just does not feel right. So these guys are 96% owned. I'm going to give a little shout out to Julius Randle, by the way. This is a guy who I thought was not going to be very good this year, and he has shown me that I was wrong. He is sinking a little bit, though, so maybe I'll end up being right. You never know. Okay, let's see if anybody on this page is... Aha! We've got a Blake Griffin sighting. Okay, here you see. This is a guy who's 75% rostered, but he ranks 195th. And let's look under the hood at why. First of all, his shooting percentages are horrible. They're terrible. His numbers, though, kind of middling. If he had good shooting, he'd be a mid-tier guy, but his shooting is terrible, and he's not really giving you much of anything. So that's why. So we have to ask, why is he 75% owned? Oh, I'm getting a question. Casey asks, who are my favorite buy low candidates? Okay. Once again, we're going to have to get back to this for some buy low candidates. Buy low candidates, you can go back to all players, and here's what you can do. You can look at where they were ranked in the preseason is basically where they were predicted to do. Actually, the way Yahoo measures this, by the way, is that in preseason, this is where they finished overall in average stats. Now, that's because I'm searching in average stats. If I go to, let's do this just for illustration. If you go to total stats, it starts to sort in terms of total stats. And this is for this season, by the way. So we want to look at what they did last year some of the time as well, if we're trying to figure out who to value. But here's a good buy low. Jimmy Butler ranked 166th overall, but he ranked 18th going into the preseason. Jimmy Butler has done great things time and again. Let's pull him up. I mean, this is no surprise to everybody that Jimmy Butler would be a buy low here. But if we look at the game log to see how he's been doing lately, let's see how my internet's been doing lately. It's not great. Don't know why. Okay. Jimmy Butler. He came back on January 30th. He scored 30 points. He scored 25 the next night. He had 7 and 9 rebounds. He had 8 and 5 assists. He had 4 steals. If you can get Jimmy Butler now, get him. He is probably my favorite buy low right now. I like Donovan Mitchell as a buy low, not nearly as much as Jimmy Butler. Now, let's talk about someone I don't like as a buy low. Devin Booker. This guy is ranked 127th overall, but he was ranked 10th going into the season. Do I see him rebounding? I actually don't, and I don't mean that as a basketball pun. I mean, he doesn't rebound much anyway. But this guy scores a lot of points, but he's not giving you much else. And see, that's where I know this is not likely to end well for him. He's not doing the things that he would need to do to make it so that he's likely to regain that value. If you were actually, I would much rather see that his scoring is down and his defensive numbers are going well, because those defensive numbers will stay. And Booker's scoring was always going to go up if it was down. So yes, Ross, cancel that trade for Booker right now. Do not do it. But I'm going to go and look at what he did last season. Okay. And then we're going to get back to some other buy lows. Remember though, Booker, not a buy low. What you see is what you get right now. All right. Last season, what did this man do? How did he get to be ranked 10th overall? Well, he finished 10th overall. But if you look at it, Let's see what he did in the. You can't look at the. Yahoo needs to actually get it so that you can look at the last 30 days of the last season. That is the kind of thing that fantasy players would love to have. Guys, I want to remind you again, if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like, and put your comments below. Ross is asking me if I would trade him Chris Paul for Donovan Mitchell. No, I would not, because Mitchell is a good buy low candidate, but Paul is doing exactly what I thought he'd be doing, and he's going to outperform Mitchell in the long run anyway. I do like Mitchell, though, so we can talk, just not for Paul. Maybe we'll make a trade right on screen. We'll see. Ross, you can make me an offer. I got my team up. Okay. Devin Booker. How did he get to 10 overall? I need to look at season average. What did he do last season on average? He was 10 also? That's weird. Well, he scored 26.6 points a game. He has 6.5 assists. 4.2 rebounds. You see his steals and blocks were next to nothing. Here's a potential red flag for a player that is likely to sink. A lot of his value was about the fact that he shot 92% from the free throw line. Now, we don't know if that's something that is going to continue with a player as unproven as Booker. It's one thing if when I was a kid, Mark Price was the best free throw shooter. You knew he would do that. Him shooting 92% from the line was nothing. That would happen all the time. So, that's not anything to worry about. But Booker, we're going to look at his stats. I'm going to show you why he's not a buy low again. First of all, his assists are down from 6.5 to 3.9. His rebounds were 4.5. They're down to 3.3. I think it was 4.5. But if you look at his statistics, his points have pretty much risen every year. They've sunk this time. And look, it's a different team. So, oh my God, the game is 117 to 118. The Nets are in the lead. 14 seconds left. Keep me posted, Ross. Okay, so if we're looking at Booker, he had 2 seasons in a row. Oh, wait. Yes, 2 seasons in a row where his assists were over 6. You have to wonder if something changed in the team context. But this far into the season, I believe that what you see is what you get with Booker. If you can trade him to somebody who would give you, if you would trade Booker for Chris Paul and you could get Chris Paul, I would do it. Ross is offering me Kevin Durant for James Harden straight up. I won't do it, but I'll tell you, I'd rather root for Kevin Durant than James Harden. So Ross, you throw something in there, and I might do it. I made you an offer the other day. It was a 3-for-1 though, and you know what that means. I agree. Booker is not. Well, he said he was a joke. I try not to be so unkind. This guy is a really good NBA player, but he's not that great for fantasy. I don't even know how good he is for the NBA, for his actual NBA team, for the Suns. Okay, let's go back to buy low targets. That's a great question just to ask in general. So we're going to look at, again, we're going to look at their preseason ranking and where they are. Oh, Antetokounmpo. He's a decent buy low candidate with one caveat. You have got to be willing to punt free throws if you're going to buy Antetokounmpo. So, Mitchell, Durant, LaMelo for Harden, your offer was a joke. Yeah, listen, I used your technique, Ross. I gave you not my best offer. But you can always counter. I'm ready. So, Antetokounmpo, he's shooting 59% from the line, and he also shoots 9.9 free throws a game. What does this tell you? Look, if you have a guy who shoots 59% from the line, but he doesn't shoot that many free throws, that's fine. That's not that big of a deal. Like, DeAndre Jordan's probably not going to kill you in free throws because he's not going to shoot that many free throws, although they will foul him at the end of the game. Antetokounmpo is going to get to the line over and over and over, and he's going to kill you in free throws. So I actually don't think he's a great buy low candidate. Let's see. Don't like the Trae Young. Let's see. Russell Westbrook. This is interesting. Ross the Boss is big on Russell Westbrook. It's hard to say he's wrong about that. I mean, the guy averages almost a triple double. Again, he's going to hit you in free throws, but look, he takes 3 free throws less than Antetokounmpo, and he's better than him. He's a turnover machine, so you're going to run into trouble with that. But I would say Russell Westbrook is actually a really good buy low candidate. We got another question about LaMelo Ball's value. Listen, LaMelo Ball to me looks like the clear runaway rookie of the year, and that guy is much better than Lonzo. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's younger brothers. I'm a younger brother. I used to beat my brother in basketball all the time. Sorry, Ost. But LaMelo Ball is, I think his value is going way up, Ross. That's why I wanted to buy him. If you have LaMelo Ball, in fact, let's take a look. Let's take a look at him. We've said enough about buy lows. LaMelo. No, not LaMelo. Wait, no, I think that's right. I think you spelled it right. Is that right? Yeah, LaMelo Ball. Here you go. We're going to see what he's been doing lately. I love the 14-day check. Now, when you check for total, one thing you have to keep in mind is you're getting, you might be getting a skewed result. You might be getting a guy who played 5 games in a week. Now, that's not happening much. I think it's probably because of COVID to some degree. But he may have played a lot of games. If he played in 8 games in the last 2 weeks, his numbers are going to be higher. But he ranked 84th overall. And what I like about him is this: 42 assists and 9 steals. I like this free throw percentage too, because he seems to be the kind of player who can keep that up. Can he keep up the field goal percentage? That's what I want to know. So I'm going to look at what he did in the last 30 days. And then I'm going to get to Casey's question. Hold tight. In the last 30 days, LaMelo Ball, his shooting percentage is going to be lower. Don't expect him to shoot 47% from the field. His free throw percentage is also lower, so I wouldn't expect that to keep up either. But look at this guy. He is doing the assists and steals with good points. That was a great pick by Ross. LaMelo Ball's value the rest of the year, he's ranked 84th in the last 14 days. In the last 30 days, he's ranked 59th. And for the season total, he's ranked 58th. Let's check his season average. These are all good stats to look at. 96th. That's because he hasn't played as many minutes, and he was out certain games, and Charlotte, I believe, missed a bunch of games with COVID, if I remember correctly. Their whole team was shut down for a while. So LaMelo Ball's value, I would guess, could hover around, he could get up to maybe 35th or 40th for the rest of the season, maybe even higher. He's not going to go below, I would say, 70. So do not deal LaMelo Ball if you were smart enough to draft him. Okay. The question is most influential players of the last 30 years, not GOATs of the last 30 years. So most influential players. That has so many different connotations. But 30 years does cover Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the most influential player, I think, in league history. One thing I do love about LeBron, though, and why I have him as my kind of 1A, 1B. I'll give Jordan 1A, is that they both have influenced the league tremendously. When you watch a guy like James Harden, instead, that's a guy who's actually not influencing many people. People don't, they like to watch him play. He's putting up some big numbers, but is he really influencing the league much at all? No, I would say Steph Curry has influenced the league far more than James Harden, because Steph Curry changed the way the game was played with that quick release and a player that small being able to create his own shot. But that being said, Steph Curry, I don't know where he fits in the most influential players of the last 30 years. Jordan's definitely one. LeBron is definitely number 2. I got to think about who's third. Shaq has got to be in there. Let's see. We've got a nomination for Magic. Was that actually 30 years? 30 years ago, we go all the way back to 1991. Magic was still there. I'll give you that. Magic was an incredibly revolutionary player. So I would say Jordan, LeBron, Magic. I think Kareem was gone by then, but that guy, he changed the league radically. Wilt Chamberlain was more than 30 years ago. These are players that really changed the league. It's interesting. A guy like Hakeem Olajuwon, who I love, I feel like he didn't change the league that much somehow. He was almost a throwback at that point. He was the center that was the dominant force on his team. But at that point, Jordan and Kurt Rambis, that guy changed the league. He had the goggles and the tape on the middle. He changed the league for white kids everywhere. Thank you, Kurt Rambis, for your service. You made us believe we could do something. But John Stockton probably did a little more than you. But interestingly, did John Stockton and Karl Malone change the league much? No, I don't think they did. Did Charles Barkley? Maybe in terms of his personality. Anyways, let's get back to fantasy basketball. Great question, though. I'm going to look at now, we're going to pull up the players list, and I'm going to see who is underperforming and overperforming. This is a big part of how you look at who you might want to trade for. I'm a big trade guy. So we pull this up, and what we look at is, a guy like Jokic, you're not going to pry away from anybody except for a king's ransom. He was ranked 7th going in, but he's number 1. Kawhi Leonard is the number 2 player. So Sam, nice job getting him. Karl Anthony Towns is 3. But look, these are season averages. I want to look at season total. Or I want to look at last 14 days. Let's see. Oh, here's a good player that is not getting talked enough about. Now, I'll admit he's on my team. And I'm also going to say, oh, you know what I forgot to say? I've been forgetting to say this the entire time. If you want to call in and join our show, you can go to www.callmfsn.com. And you can get in on audio if you're not comfortable coming in on video. And you can come in on video. You can also come in on video if you're not comfortable on video. That makes for great TV. So I highly recommend it. Party Marty has joined us. What's going on? The Raptors need to get better. The Nets won. It was a great game. I missed it. I know I had a job to do, Ross. You know I had a job to do, but I thank you for chatting with me while you're watching the game. Party Marty, I'm going to take a look at what's going on with the Raptors in a second, but I want to finish my point about Miles Turner. I'm not going to take huge credit for this. Miles Turner, I drafted, and a lot of people said I overpaid for him, and even I felt that I probably overpaid for him, but I needed the blocks. But if you look at what he's done this year, he has been a monster. He has 70 blocks. Let's look at how that ranks. This is one thing I like to do. If you're looking on here, we need to scroll over just a bit. I don't know if we can get over there on the screen. It's not coming up. There we go. Can you see it? No, I think it's too far over. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah, steals is the last category you can see. So, but anyways, I will tell you, and you'll have to trust me. So Miles Turner has 70 blocks. The next most blocks any guy has is Rudy Gobert, who is a block machine. He has 53. After that, you go to Clint Capella with 40. Then you go down to Chris Boucher, also with 40. I mean, Miles Turner has almost twice the amount of blocks as the 3rd ranked player. So now let's look through some other stats like that. We'll see if any Raptors show up for Party Marty. Let's look through steals, because I think you can see that. Steals. Best steals guy in the league is Drew Holiday. Was traded to the Bucks, and he has 38 steals. Larry Nance Jr., very underrated player, this guy. He's ranked 49th overall. You see right here. He has 37 steals on the season. Let's see. Westbrook had another triple-double. He's a machine. Yeah, Marty, you going to come online? Come on. Whenever you're ready, you let me know. Okay. Looking at steals, though. See, I really like these are some underrated guys you'll see. Ben Simmons, he's ranked 52nd overall. And it's because his free throw percentage. He's down at 64% essentially. But the guy scores a lot. He gets rebounds. He gets assists. He gets blocks. He does everything. He turns the ball over a lot, and his free throw percentage is bad. But his field goal percentage is good. So you got to see, maybe you have a team that has turned out to be really good with field goal percentage, and they're just not that good at free throws. My team was a lot of guards, so they're not as good at field goal percentage. They're better at free throw percentage. So I had to make an adjustment to see where I could make up some ground. Wow, look at Fred VanVleet, 34 steals, and he's ranked 7. Fred VanVleet. When did he change his name? I swear that Party Marty has an Irish car bomb. Party Marty, you need to go to www.mfsn.com. And when you show up, they'll make sure that you're you, because we want to make sure it's you. And then you can come on and I'll say a quick hello. I swear to God, Fred VanVleet's name was Fred VanVleet. But guys, we do have Party Marty in the house. Come on.
Hey, how's it going?
It's one of my favorite Canadians of all time, Party Marty.
How are you?
Party Marty, do this with your phone. Turn it sideways.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Looking great.
Thank
You're watching the Ottawa game. Sam's back. Welcome back, Sam.
Hopefully Sens wins tonight.
What's the score?
0-0.
0-0. Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's going to end in a tie if it keeps up like that. See, I understand math.
First minute though. It's not.
Oh, it's just in the first minute. Oh.
Yeah.
Listen, this show is all about numbers and what you can trust. You can't trust that it's going to turn out 0-0 in the first minute. So
no.
You wanted to do an Irish car bomb. Did you come on to do that? Because I have some Killcliff.
I got an Irish car bomb for you.
All right. Well, I'm working, so I can't drink the alcohol right now. But Killcliff gives me energy. It's got a delicious berry lemonade taste. If you get the berry lemonade. All right. Cheers, Marty. Here's to you.
Delicious.
That's really good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Raptors have to wake up a little bit. They gotta.
Okay, you know what? Just while you're here, I'm going to look at how the Raptors are doing.
Okay.
Really quickly. Now, look, you can look at status, and then you can go all the way down to Toronto. We'll just look only at Toronto. We're doing this for Party Marty.
Yeah.
All players. So, the best player in fantasy sports on your team is Fred VanVleet. He's done very well. Chris Boucher also has done well. Anunoby has also done well. Lowry has underperformed some. Siakam has underperformed quite a bit. But you've still got 5 good players.
Oh, that's good.
In terms of fantasy. And then Norman Powell is pretty good, too. So for fantasy, the Raptors are doing okay.
Nice.
I understand. You mean in real basketball. Marty, I apologize about this, especially as a therapist who cares about your well-being. But there are people who are always calling for you to drink Irish car bombs. Are you willing to do a second one? Is that something that will be good for your night? I don't want to cause trouble for you.
I have to save some cans for the weekend anyway, so I don't know. I gotta go get them, but I'll do it next time.
Not only that, Marty, but we are going to send you some Guinness. We owe you that because you come on our shows and you drink Irish car bombs and it entertains people, and we think you deserve that. So just know that it's coming.
Thank you so much.
So I appreciate you coming on, Marty.
Yeah.
Go Sens. I'm with you. I don't know why the Canadian teams hate each other so much. You guys should stick together.
Yep, they should.
810 Pro Wrestling said, Marty, it's Tuesday. Don't do it. It's a little early in the week. Listen, I'm the last person who's going to push you to do it, but I love having you on. Come back on the show next week, will you?
Yeah, I will. Next week I'm down.
Actually, we got a waiver wire on Thursday. Come join me and Ross.
Okay, cool.
All right, it's great seeing you, Marty. You are the man.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right, man. So Sam, you pointed out VanVleet was amazing. Were you saying in the particular game that he played? Let's see. What did he do tonight? Must have done something amazing. So I'm going to pull it up. And here we are. Whoa! Now I see what you're talking about, Sam. Wow. Okay, let's look at what Fred VanVleet did. That looks a little blurry, so I'm going to just stretch that out a bit. This is his line right here. He played 37 minutes, but he generally plays a lot of minutes. But 17 field goals made out of 23. The guy shot 74% from the field, 11 three-pointers. 11! Now, you all know what that means. There's going to be a lot of points. 54 points. He got 3 steals. He got 3 blocks. Who is this dude? And am I right, Sam? Didn't he used to be Fred VanVleet? Or did I, just hallucinate that? Anyways, my God. Listen, there's going to be people who are going to overpay now for Fred VanVleet. If you have him in your lineup, you got to remember he scored 9 points the night before. He was 4 of 12 from his field goals, 1 of 7 at threes. But listen, this guy is no joke. He every other night, literally every other night, he has a big game. And, even on his bad nights, 10 points, 10 assists, he was 3 of 17 shooting, so that would kill your numbers there. But this guy is good. And this is the kind of player that sneaks up on people. I think since Kawhi Leonard left, that left a hole in their team. Somebody had to fill it. And these guys are super talented players. So we should look at other teams. I want to see how my Cavs are doing. Let's see how they're doing in fantasy. They've fallen off lately. I admit it. But all right, Jarrett Allen, 35th. Larry Nance Jr., 49th. Drummond. Oh boy, Drummond. He puts up the stats, but everybody says when you look at what's happening in the actual game that you want to trade him away. And with Jarrett Allen there, I think it may be that time. But for fantasy purposes, Drummond is usually much lower because look at his free throw percentage. And he shoots a lot of free throws too. He gets hacked a lot. His rebounds are just monstrous, but his blocks aren't as good. I'd much rather have a player like Jarrett Allen, not just because of the ranking and numbers, but you see why. All right, let's just look a little bit more into this. And by the way, guys, feel free to tell me what team to analyze. I picked the Cavs for me. Marty picked Toronto for him. I think I may wrap up on this, but Colin Sexton, 92 overall. Garland is 188, but he hasn't even played that much. This Cavs team has a lot of talent. So, anyways, let's sum up something. Ross the Boss says Drummond is the GOAT. The greatest of all time is a guy who rebounds a lot, and everybody thinks we should just trade. I just want to sum up before we wrap up. And if there are last questions, now's the time. But if not, I'm going to take this in the direction that I was going to go in, which is you really want to pay attention. If you got some spare time, go in, look at all players, not all available players. You want to look at all players and you want to see who's underperforming. You want to look at who is, well, that's not where I wanted to go, right here. You want to see who's doing well in the last maybe 14 days. And on average, just be careful because somebody could have a really great average game, but maybe didn't play that much. You want to see, and look, guys like Ish Smith, this guy's coming around, but was that in one game? I don't know. So we're going to take a look at these kinds of things. Come back for the Q&A as often as you want. Love having you here. Great questions, guys. Sounds like there were some great NBA games, and now I'm going to hop off to go catch those myself. But for those of you who haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what we're talking about, and put your comments below. Just because the Q&A is over doesn't mean the questions and the answers are over. Come back anytime, and I'll be here to answer. Thank you for watching.
We're gonna set the internet on